Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to the second installment of the still unnamed movie segment for your favorite Waves on the Shore podcast. Last time, first little pilot episode, we talked about the movie Warrior, and today we are back with another James Bond movie. We've talked about Casino Royale in a podcast episode because we introduced this movie thing as a segment in the main podcast before breaking it off and making it its own little series. But
And
today,
if you haven't heard that, the episode is titled 007, so if you wanted to...
it's pretty easy to find, yeah. But today we are back with another James Bond movie. This might be a stupid question, right? Are we watching them in order?
Yeah.
Okay, so we watched the second James Bond movie, Quantum of Solace.
Were you confused?
No,
Or
I before I said like the second James Bond movie, I wanted to make sure it actually was.
You just want... Okay. I mean, that's fair because you don't actually know.
I don't actually know. I kind of...
This is the second of 5 movies, yeah.
Jaron just texts me. He's like, we're watching this movie. I'm like, okay. And then I find it and I watch it. But yeah. Quantum of Solace, James Bond's second movie. I'll let you kind of set the context because you're the movie guru here.
Okay, to kind of, because we're kind of a mess sometimes if we don't have at least a loose, semi-loose script. And so I pulled the Google synopsis off and just pasted it in my notes on my phone. But I'll riff on it a little bit. But just to set the tone, set the scene, not the tone, whatever. Following the death of Vesper Lynd from the first movie, James Bond makes his next mission personal. The hunt for those who blackmailed his lover leads him to ruthless businessman Dominic Green, a key player in the organization which coerced Vesper. Bond learns that Green is plotting to gain total control of a vital natural resource. Hint, it's oil. And he must navigate a minefield of danger and treachery to foil the plan. So... that synopsis kind of, not that this movie's complicated, but it really does kind of simplifies things. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even, I don't think it even mentions a main character. Her name is Camille, but we'll get to her. But first, Evan, why don't you just give your thoughts? Let's do that.
Well, I enjoyed it. 2 for 2. Okay. I've enjoyed the James Bond movies. However, I'm gonna be honest, right? The action scenes are really cool, and I feel like the opening scene of this movie, I feel like I've seen it before. I don't know where from, but I don't know. Anyways, I was watching it. I was like, I've definitely seen this before somewhere.
There may be like I know sometimes teachers will like pull scenes from like.
I think it was a teacher.
Maybe like in school or something.
I feel like I can remember my grade 7 teacher or something going like, oh, this is one of my favorite movie scenes of all time. And then would tie it into a project or something because it's elementary, so it doesn't actually have to be any kind of curriculum.
Well, there's better James Bond scenes, so they need to raise their standards. Anyway.
Fair enough. It was a cool opening scene. They were also speaking Italian, and I was like, hey, I know a couple words they're saying.
Hey, I can speak 3 words in Italian.
No, I'm trying to learn. So I was sitting there thinking, like, wait a minute, slow down. Let me try and understand what y'all are saying. I did get parts of it. I did understand. But that was cool.
Okay.
Anyways, what did I think? I do think with this one, I struggled to follow the plot line a little more than Casino Royale. I think
that doesn't surprise me.
This one was a little harder to be like, okay, who's this? What are they trying to do? It took me a long time to figure out that it was actually tied to Vesper. I just thought we kind of were like plopped into a whole new thing.
So this movie... Okay, well, so let me first clarify. Maybe I should have told you this already. These five James Bond movies that we're going to watch, they're all with Daniel Craig. They're very much connected.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part.
So keep that in mind. I should.
Yeah, like it's all about James, and it's a very personal. The old James Bond movies were not super like personal movies where they like kind of explore the character of James Bond and like they kind of try to humanize. These movies try to humanize him. Those old ones didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like, he's a womanizer. he's kind of actually not a very good person. Like,
But he works for the Secret Service, so
yeah. And so, and there's also the fact that you couldn't follow it doesn't surprise me a whole lot, and we'll get to that. There's a couple things that happened outside of the movie, like behind the scenes, that kind of.
You were
like,
saying it was interesting how this movie was made, so I'm assuming it's going to tie into that a little bit.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, you have anything else? Maybe.
I'm trying to think like specific like things I liked or didn't like. I mean, I kind of felt like I was watching Star Wars at the end when everything was blowing up in the middle of a desert. I can't lie. That's a terrible.
That's interesting. I've never heard that comparison made to this movie.
It's just we cut all of a sudden from all these bustling cities on the coastline.
Yeah, and we're just in the desert.
Now we're gonna blow up a strange-looking building that is completely isolated in a desert. And I was just like, okay. I thought Bond was gonna leave Camille to die in the building, yeah.
Really?
Like when he well, I thought he was gonna shoot her, right? When he's like, she was like, "Oh, just make it count, right? Make it quick," because they're in the burning building. I thought, do you know the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're like in the room as it's on fire.
You straight up thought he was just gonna shoot her?
Yeah, I was like, oh, dang, that's how it goes, I guess. I guess I should have considered the fact it is a James Bond movie, so she's gonna be saved.
Well,
but at the same time, because it's a James Bond movie, I also thought she was gonna get shot.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised. It was nice.
Maybe we should talk about Camille.
Real
quick. Because Camille is essentially almost every movie has almost every James Bond movie has a Bond girl, where it's like an attractive woman who wears a dress. Most of the time, they are very much a sex object. That is not necessarily the case for Camille. Yes, she's obviously she's attractive, but
didn't she literally use?
Yeah, okay, but that's not no. What I mean by that is usually the presence of like the main character, the female lead in a Bond movie, is usually just a James Bond bangs her and then leaves. Like basically, like she doesn't do anything else. She's just there to be hot.
Yeah.
Camille is actually she has an agenda and she's kind of independent in her own. She's actually like she's not helpless.
Trying to do stuff on her own. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not. Yeah, she was getting in with Dominic, the villain. But she was trying to like get her way into the organization by sleeping with him. But that's not a typical Bond thing to do. I mean, yes, having sex is a typical Bond thing to do, but like having like a motive and like you're not just doing it to do it. She's doing it because she's trying to. If I remember correctly, she's trying to get revenge.
Yeah.
It's been a hot second since I've seen this movie, and I guess I might as well just go ahead and.
It was because
this is my least favorite.
Really?
James Bond. Yeah, this is, in my opinion, the worst one.
I was gonna
say, and it's not a horrible movie. It's just not as good as the rest of them. And it's interesting that you go from Casino Royale, which is still totally, completely, maybe the best one.
I was gonna say I still prefer.
Yeah.
Before we started recording, I was gonna say I prefer Casino Royale to this.
One of my best friends likes Quantum of Solace more than Casino Royale, and I'm like, dude, like, how can you be like so smart but also be like so stupid at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, the Quantum of Solace, it was good. It was a lot more action driven, I thought, and there was a lot of plot going on, but I think, like I said, it was sometimes more difficult to follow. Whereas Casino Royale, it was just like stone cold strategy. Everyone in the same room trying to kill each other, but they're playing poker. And I don't know if that'll be topped. We'll have to see with the future Bond movies.
I think it will be topped because luckily the next movie, Skyfall, is one of my favorite movies ever across anything. And I would be disappointed if you didn't like that one. But it's interesting that if we talk about plot in this movie, it's really interesting to look at because there's stuff going on and some of it makes sense, but when you really look at things that are happening, I realized I left my door open. I probably should have shut it. When you look at things that are happening, and then you realize, why is this happening? So like that's the scene where they get on the plane and they're going to find Dominic at that hotel in the desert,
Oh,
right?
right. Yeah.
And then they crash land, and then they're just in a sinkhole in the desert. Like they're like literally underground, stranded, right? And you're like, dang, you guys are like 500 feet underground with no like warmth or like food or anything, or like any like rope, like no materials, nothing to help you get out, no equipment. You're like, wow, how are they going to get out of this situation? They just do. The movie doesn't show us. The movie is just
cuts
like
to them in the building.
it cuts to them walking,
Oh,
like
yeah.
walking through a town, and then they just get there, you know. And it's like, so there's parts of this movie that just kind of happen, and a big reason for that is at the time of this movie being written, a big screenwriter strike was happening. So from in 2007 to 2008, they wanted like all these producers and stuff. These companies were making a ton of money, and the screenwriters weren't getting enough credit. It's essentially how they felt.
Some beef.
And so because of that,
beef.
this movie didn't have any screenwriters for the majority of its conception. And so that meant that, and speaking of which, they had a really hard time finding a director. It took them forever to find a director because people kept joining and leaving and stuff like that. And they finally got a director. And so then the new director and Daniel Craig, the lead, are sitting here like writing these scenes like while they're being filmed. Like they're making the movie as they're making the movie, essentially. So in a way, the fact that this movie is yeah, kind of like they were just like, this would be cool, let's do this. And so like Daniel Craig was not a screenwriter at the time. Like he's not really. I don't think he's ever written. And the thing is, they aren't credited like for writing this movie, even though they wrote a lot of it. And so because of the climate and the background that this movie was made in, you can kind of see how it was. Some things just kind of happen, and they're like thrown together, and they're just kind of like, we'll do that.
Makes it seem better because I didn't necessarily notice like. I mean, when you bring them up, I'm like, oh shoot, I guess they kind of did just get out of a sinkhole with nothing. But it's nothing that made me like pause the movie, take a breath, and be like, oh, what is occurring here?
Yeah, this movie isn't bad, but I think in the context of the rest of them, it's the worst one.
But
it's not like
in the context of what it was made in, clearly, it's one of the most impressive, arguably.
The fact that it's as good as it is actually pretty impressive.
I can't believe that they just
and that's also partly why there's so many action scenes. It's like, and also this movie, instead of being like 2 hours and 20 minutes, it's like an hour and 30.
Yes, I noticed that when I first clicked on it. I was like, okay, I don't know what I was expecting, but like I was expecting longer because of Casino Royale. Yeah,
the other movies, Skyfall, No Time to Die, will both get longer. I think Spectre's probably a little bit longer, but not by much. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to look at. Like, here, wait, I think I had it pulled up. In an interview, Daniel Craig revealed that the script originally wasn't intended to be much of a sequel to Casino Royale. Because of the writer's strike, they only had a bare bones script, and Daniel Craig and the director Mark Forster ended up rewriting a lot of the scenes between them, with many decisions being made on the fly at the last second. So a lot of this was just kind of like...
That's amazing.
I couldn't imagine doing that. That's crazy.
But that would make sense why there were so many action scenes. It was very constant. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a decent amount of them. I think they're all pretty good, though. Like, it's not... Yeah. So I
did really like the one near the start where they are in Italy and they are like hopping the roofs and into the balconies and all that stuff. I did like that one. What was the one... And they're like swinging around the what's it called? They're in one abandoned
scaffolding.
Yeah, the scaffolding. Thank you.
And then he like turns around at the last second and shoots the guy.
I know, and it's like, oh, how perfect that! Like as soon as he gets his gun, he swings around, he grabs it, and bang, and it's over, and somehow none of the Italians notice because they're busy watching like horses. But
Oh yeah, that's right. It keeps. Oh, that's one thing. If I haven't. I did semi recently rewatch this movie, but I've seen it so many times that I didn't really feel like I really needed to.
yeah,
But if I remember correctly, doesn't the beginning of the movie kind of like cut back to like a matador, like in
Yeah.
like yeah, and it's like part of me every time I watch it, I'm like, why are we why are we cutting back to this? Like, what's the point of that?
And-
Like, I guess it helps kind of give you an idea of where they are, but I don't really
but
know.
isn't that more of a thing in Spain?
Where are they? I don't remember.
Italy, unless they bounced.
I mean, Italy and Spain aren't that far away from each
Yeah,
other.
but I swear that was more. But it wasn't really like a bull and matador thing though. They were on horses. I don't know. They were in Italy though. I'm very confident because that's when they were all speaking Italian, and my little like Duolingo mind was like, "Oh my gosh, words."
Well, with all those
faccio."
European countries, there's a lot of overlap. Like sometimes Italian can kind of sound like Spanish. So I don't.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm just.
Who
so.
knows? There's a cool scene, but also like, why are we watching them run around on horses at the same time?
Yeah, It's not like a bad thing. It's just kind of like what. Also, it is. I do want to point out that the reason I was talking about back to Camille.
Yeah.
She's kind of interesting. She sets herself apart from other Bond girls. That's what people call them because that's just kind of what they are. They're like and she's kind of different because like it's one of the only girls that like Bond doesn't like actually like sleep. Like he doesn't sleep with her. They like kiss once, and they never like. It's kind of weird to me, honestly, because they're kind of like, well, the people probably want them to kiss, so we'll just make them kiss. But I also kind of get it because if I remember in the context that they're kind of like saying goodbye in a way,
Yeah.
but it's like you guys were never in love, so what are you doing, dog?
Just shake her hand and leave.
But Bond does have sex with that one redheaded chick, and I wanted to talk about this. Do you remember? Her name is Fields, if I remember correctly. She's pretty cool. But she's the stereotypical Bond girl. She's not the main character Bond girl, but she's the one that like gets seduced, and she's not really a field agent. And Bond's like
she's kind of there. Then he uses her to get into a party.
Yeah,
and
I mean she's there to help him.
Yeah, but how helpful is she?
But a cool thing about her, what did you think of her death?
Rob,
I need you to shut my door for me, and I need you to shut up. Anyway, continue.
So she...
Do you not remember her death?
I'm trying to remember.
Okay,
I know as soon as you refresh it, it'll come right back to me. I'm just...
Okay. So when Bond is on the run, he goes on the run a couple times in this movie because he's kind of being a little brash, a little arrogant.
He's being a little irresponsible.
Reckless.
He's kind of just killing everyone, not getting any info.
M isn't sure to trust him, but then she's like, you know what? I trust you. And when he gets back to the hotel that he had been staying in, MI6 shows up, and they're like, you're arrested. He breaks loose.
And then they go in, and she's just buried in oil, right?
Yeah, and so they had, so the villain had found her.
Obsessed with oil.
And had known, had known that she had helped Bond.
Because they were at the party together when Dominic gave this big speech, and then Bond shimmied his way up, and they started going at it.
So in the point of her death, there's a couple cool things about it. One is it's supposed to show Bond how reckless he's been and how the decisions he makes affects others. And because she helped him, she drowned in oil and died. And that would not have been a fun death at all.
I don't think many deaths are fun.
And to set the scene, they drowned her in oil and then threw her dead body, just like black, like crude oil covered body, like on the bed
of a hotel
in the hotel room that they stayed in. And like Bond kind of is like, oh shoot, that kind of thing. And M's kind of like yelling at him. And I don't know, I think it's really cool. But the other thing is that death is actually a reference to a much older Bond movie where a Bond girl gets killed for similar reason, but she's covered in gold instead. And so it's supposed to be kind of this metaphor that like oil has become more valuable than gold.
Oh
in today's
crap!
world, and it's
That's
kind of
kind
like
of
a
cool,
cool
actually.
thing. Yeah. So I've always thought that's kind of cool.
That is a neat little.
But we should, I guess, that oil is a nice segue into what the villain is actually trying to do. And
Yeah,
it's easy to kind of not really. He's
it's an interesting
he's
plan, and I'm like, okay, you do you, Chief.
yeah. Once you realize what he's doing, it's like okay, it makes sense. But essentially, what he's doing is he's making a deal with. I think he's dealing with the CIA, and the CIA are like, yeah, we'll do it, and they know he's not a great guy, but they're doing it because they don't realize that there's like there's like this underground water that they don't realize is there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wants to control the water. He wants to buy that land so he has control of the water there.
In Bolivia,
And in turn,
right?
I think so.
Because the Bolivian
Sounds right.
government is like falling apart, and so there's these sketchy dudes that are like making Bolivia a dictatorship, and this Dominic Green guy with his big corporation is like, hey, I can help you. Like, my corporation's so big, we can have a lot of power, so we can help your dictatorship if you sign off and give us this portion of land. And the Bolivian guy's like, if you're looking for oil, there's no oil in that land, so sure, I'll give it to you. But the Dominant Green guy is like, oh, well, you don't know that for sure, right? And he gets the land wanting the oil in Bolivia.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
collapsing government. That's the...
Yeah. So that's his thing. And so I guess the guy that he's dealing with is like, what, he's like some... Is he Cuban? Venezuelan? Is he from Bolivia? I don't know.
I'm not
South American.
sure where he's from. South America, working for the Bolivian, making Bolivia a dictatorship.
Yeah. But Camille's the guy that she is trying to get after because she was trying to use Dominic to get to him.
Yeah.
And she was succeeding, but Vaughn kind of intervened. And
he was there at her father's death, right?
Well,
or killed her father.
If I remember correctly, he like raped her family and like killed her father.
Yes.
And then killed the rest of them, which is like, wow, not very cool.
You know,
not cool.
Reasonable for her, Camille, to not like the dude.
I thought you were about to say very reasonable guy,
very well moraled, very understandable. It happens sometimes to just kill a whole family.
And it's actually interesting. You get to see a little bit more of that. He's not like some really good fleshed out villain because all you just see him do like basic bad villain things. But near the end, he starts to like trying to attempt to rape one of the hotel in the desert where the end of the movie happens. He tries to like kind of start to sexually assault one of the employees there, and it's kind of like, wow, you're like not a great guy. And then Camille's like there and kind of gets the drop on him while he's doing it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Is that right? And they kind of have a fight, and he like almost kills her. But
then the building starts burning.
But yeah, and the building starts burning. It's like one of the stereotypical movie endings where like the building that they're in is on fire, and so it's like, and it's like real tense. And while that's happening, Bond's fighting Dominic Green. And let me tell you, I love this fight scene because Dominic Green is like so out of his element.
I was gonna say it's a cool one. He's like swinging his axe around. He's
like so desperate. Yeah, he hits himself in the foot with the axe.
Speaking of
feet,
it's
one of those. It's hilarious.
Hold on, that's a terrible transition. But speaking of
feet, hey yo, he said speaking of feet. Hey yo,
flashback way back to like school soccer season. Some big boy stepped on my toe and it went black. Right.
Hey yo,
and it is now like as of today, like any hour, this bad boy's coming off. 2 months later. It's like paper, but anyways, so I have a really flimsy toenail, and I should specify my toenail, not my toe.
Yeah, my toe's not. You made it sound like your toe was gonna.
My toe is not about to fall off. My toenail went black. It's about to fall off. It's awkwardly not painful. It's just really weird. Anyways, that's my thing on feet today.
You were watching the movie and you saw him hit his own foot with an axe, and you're like, oh man, I feel your pain.
Low key, that's kind of what I'm doing. I was like, oh.
That's funny.
No, I didn't stab with an axe,
but yeah, that's the villain that's his thing, and I feel like he just isn't. He probably is the weakest villain out of all these movies.
I'd agree
because he's not even.
Oh, out of all the movies, I can't speak for that, but like so far, I would agree.
And I guess we should say what's Bond doing in all of this? Like we said it in the synopsis at the beginning of the episode, but he's trying to. he's trying to get to. He knows Dominic Green was involved in with the people who blackmailed Vesper in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of at the end of this movie, he's kind of going
I'm
through.
about to get
He's
interrupted.
kind of blind. You're about to get interrupted. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
You hear Technoblade died?
You can't. Okay.
But did you hear it?
No. I will see it later.
What was that?
Oh my gosh! My brother came in to tell me that a YouTuber died. I can't believe it.
Oh wait. Wait. I think
That's
he's talking about
Technoblade.
Technoblade.
That's actually
the
really
Minecraft
sad though. I
YouTuber.
used to watch him when I was a kid.
I know, we were talking about it. I was talking about it with some people on Discord, and it kind of made me sad. Like
It's Canada Day. I can't be sad.
Well, we're gonna talk about this now because I want to for like a couple.
All right, we got a minute. We got a minute.
Yeah. I never back in the day when I was in like middle school and like maybe really early high school. I watched a lot of like Minecraft YouTubers and stuff like that.
Everyone did. It was
so I can kind of relate to like that whole thing. So like I can imagine being sad if like my favorite like this dude was big like 10 million subs, like big.
I remember Technoblade when he was at like 300K. Not to flex.
Yeah, I never watched him. Like I've been vaguely aware of who he was, but then Bird told me yesterday on Discord, he was like, "Yo, Technoblade died," and I was like, "Oh shoot!" And so I went to his YouTube channel and I watched it's like a 6-minute video that is. He had basically written a goodbye and had his dad read it, and it's like really sad.
Because he had something wrong with him, right? He had
cancer. He had stage 4 cancer, I think. He got diagnosed
a while ago.
Last year, I believe.
Yeah. Anywho, I guess I should leave that interruption in so that last minute.
Yeah, it's fine.
Listeners, kind of random, but yep, YouTuber died.
It'll be all right. Yeah,
hopefully Overshore's not the next. But
yeah, Bond's going through a tough time because he's struggling with the idea of like he feels like Vesper didn't love. I think deep down he knows that Vesper loved him, but he's so hurt by the betrayal and he's so blinded by revenge that he's kind of like, and then you see that when like Fields dies and then what's his name? The old dude who dies and
that was an interesting death too.
That sucked because like he's the guy that gets accused of being the mole in Casino Royale, but it was actually Vesper. So he gets arrested and framed at the beginning of this movie. Him and Bond, he doesn't really like Bond very much because he was actually a decent guy, but he ends up helping Bond.
And you know what? I feel bad for the guy. He was retired on a castle on a hill on the coast of Italy.
With his
living his life with his wife, right?
Yeah.
Just completely chilling, and then he's dead.
And he agrees to help
Bond, and he dies. That's an unfair trade.
And the thing is, Bond, you know, like when that happens, and like the police, and then they like, it sucks so much because they like Dominic beats him up and like essentially beats him to death and throws him in the back of Bond's car, and Bond doesn't know it, and so he sends the police after Bond. They pull Bond over and they ask him to pull up in the trunk, and then why can I not remember his friend's name? I feel so bad. Do you remember his friend's name?
I had it because I was gonna bring it up, but now
they frame Bond. Dominic does, and so when he gets pulled over, the officers ask him to open the trunk, and the body is there, and he's like half awake, I think, barely half alive. And so Bond has to take care of these officers.
He is half alive. He is half alive.
I think he is half alive because I thought they had a conversation before he died. And so, but they're in the city and they're kind of on the run, and so he kind of just has to throw his body in a dumpster, and it's just kind of like it sucks, but that's just how it go. Yeah, that's just how it be.
Like, you're just gonna treat your friend like that, and he's like, "What did?"
That's Camille.
Camille. So you're gonna treat your friend like that.
I think Fields is probably already dead. He probably hasn't.
Already dead at that point.
He doesn't know that. He doesn't know that yet. But
and
she's
then
already dead.
Bond said something about like he wouldn't mind or something.
Well, the thing is, he probably wouldn't care.
No.
At the end of the day,
he understands how it works. He's been in the business. Yeah.
But this movie is a bit of a mess sometimes, but it's also not horrible. It's a
No,
you can
it's a
tell
good
it's
movie.
kind of
I would still recommend it
yeah
to someone. Like, it's not
yeah
that I sat there not enjoying myself.
the end is interesting because they attempt to give a little bit of closure to Bond because he finds, if I remember correctly, he finds the guy who Vesper had thought that she was in love with, and so like this is who she was doing all this stuff for in the first movie,
Mm-hmm.
but and he's like and when Bond like finds him, he's like doing the same thing to like another girl. He's like giving her like a pendant, and Bond like shows her. He's like, he gave another person I know like the exact same one,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like exposes this man. Like what's the dude? I'm was it Richard Hansen, the dude who's like To Catch a Predator? He's like
Oh, you're
it's like
asking
one
way
of those
too much
things.
of me to know the names of those
Oh, you
people.
don't. Okay, so it's a TV show where
I
he
know,
like
I know,
he,
I know what you're
yeah,
talking about, but I don't know the name of the guy.
he exposes people. I'm pretty sure it's Richard Hansen. I could be totally wrong, but it's like that kind of thing where Bond's like just like ending this man's career. It's a little kind of funny actually, but and so it's pretty cool. And then he has the opportunity to like kill him, but he chooses not to. And it's like you kind of see Bond kind of mature a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets this kind of closure, and it's pretty good. Oh no, pretty solid movie. I think I had
Like a rating.
oh maybe well yeah. Why don't you go ahead and give us a rating actually, and I'll do the same. I think that's a good idea.
Strictly from entertainment standpoint, the action scenes were really cool in this one, but I did find some of them a little cliche at times, like the burning building.
Anyway, real quick, what do you think you would give Casino Royale? Because I don't even remember, so let's try to like kind of set a standard.
I gave Casino Royale quite a high one, if I recall. I think it was like an 8 or like a 9 or something in there. I really like Casino Royale. Quantum of Solace, I thought was really good. I enjoyed it, but like I walked away from Casino Royale genuinely like, holy crap, that was sick. Didn't walk away from Quantum of Solace with the same level of like, oh my gosh, what I just saw was ridiculous.
Sure.
But I still enjoyed it. And I'd probably lean in and around the 7 mark, just below or just above.
Okay. I feel fairly similarly. I think because I've seen the rest of the movies and I've seen all of them multiple times.
Yeah, you have an easy, like, you can kind of balance them. I'm only going like 1 versus 1.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. When we watch the last one, we could probably have you like give like a re-rank all.
Yeah.
So for this one, like I said, it's not a bad movie. But in the context of these 5 Daniel Craig James Bond movies, it's my least favorite one. I also think it's probably the worst one, just from like a critical viewpoint. I would have to say like Casino Royale is like a 9 for me, and this is like compared to the rest, this is like 5. Like it's not horrible. It's just like in the middle, not horrible, but it's like it's okay.
So I went a little higher than you.
I can watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And like not hate it.
My movie standards are also a little off because I don't have anything to compare to. But well, thank you all for. I guess we're kind of closing down. My brain shut off there. I went to outro it and then I was like, wait, what do I say? Anywho, this has been Waves on the Shore with myself and Jaron talking about movies. The movie segment. We still need a name. Be sure to let us know in the comments what you thought. If you watched this movie, are you gonna watch this movie? If you have, what did you think of it? Suggest some movies as well, because we are going through the Bond series, but we're doing the Bond series every other week, and then in between we're gonna watch another movie. So if you have suggestions, next week please let us know.
I might do some like sports movies because we kind of did Warriors.
And
so
I
think
like
we
that.
might.
I know a bit of sports, so I'll be able to follow that a little bit. But yeah, do you have anything else to say, Jared?
I'd be curious to see. Well, you basically already said this, but let me know your thoughts on this one in particular, because some people don't think this is the worst Bond movie, and I think those people are wrong. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
So you're just like, yeah, if you
And
don't
you're
think
allowed
it's
to
the
have a
worst,
wrong one.
let Jaron know
You're
why.
All right. Bye, ladies and gents.
Adios.